In the years that I've been doing this work, I haven't found many people who have not had some form of peak experience or flow experience. It's pretty common. The issue for most people is that these experiences seem to come out of nowhere. They often can't replicate it. If they try to replicate it, it doesn't work. And they want to know how to move into those states, because when they happen, you can do extraordinary things. One example for me, I've got personal experiences here because it's happened in a number of different ways. One day I sat down and decided to write a book, and I just went into these meditative states every morning, or whatever came up, I wrote. And in 6 or 8 weeks, I think it was, the entire book was written. And it sorted its own way out. It was, there's no effort for it. An hour's meditation, and I just wrote what I needed to do, then went down the beach. Next 8 weeks, that happened. At one point, I had a block, what I call a writer's block. Nothing came through. So I went for a walk on the beach, and partway along, I had this massive explosion in the mind. I couldn't figure out what it was, but I knew there was something there that needed to come out. So I raced back home, pulled out a whole lot of Post-it notes and wrote on the Post-it notes as fast as I could as these ideas came through. And there were 40 or 50 different points. And those 40 or 50 different points I then put on the whiteboard, stuck into a whiteboard, rearranged them, and the whole structure of the book was there. And it worked its way around that. I had no idea what was going to come out until it was written. But it was really quite interesting, quite superb. And it expressed all of these different ideas in a way that I hadn't considered before. When I was talking to coaches, these are just some of the experiences that they described in experiencing these peak states or flow states or zone states while they're coaching. I've divided it into 3 sections. First is the shift of personal consciousness, the sense of self. There's an alteration of time, space. Like things just move very quickly without time and space being accountable here. A sense of unity or connectedness and oneness. Transcendence of their ordinary self. It's like with the athletes, 20% to 100%. And along with that is joy and exhilaration and expansion. This is the sensations. This is the actual experience that they're having. It's not a conceptual thing. There's also a high energy attached to it. It's not necessarily the sort of energy that you'd have with high-level sports. The thing with these peak states is that they manifest according to what you're doing. So with athletes, the founder of the athletes, the same techniques that I would give them would enable them to just run faster, jump further, or whatever it was. But if we do that with business people, same technique, the mind flows a lot easier, the decisions are easier to make, the perceptions and if you like, the insights and the creativity that's required to come up with the necessary strategies moves a lot faster. Same technique. But what happens is the consciousness shifts according to the task that's at hand and flows into that. But with this is a flow of energy that's within. They often describe it as a vibrational harmony enveloping them. It's a shift of it's a bodily sensation, it says. But it's also not a bodily sensation. It sort of comes through the body with a subtle energy in the interaction. And subtle is the word, even though it's very powerful things, it's subtle. It's hard to describe, but it's like the body is there and feeling it, but this movement is very subtle movement that moves very easily and very fluidly. There's also a shift of cognitive processes, the thoughts, sensory information, decisions, etc., like fearlessness, effortlessness, non-judgmental cognition. You can see here that these states are very important for being able to coach and do a lot of other things. Suspension of assumptions or biases. Biases are contractions of awareness that are in memory, and they influence the way in which you see things from moment to moment. But they're sort of narrowing a limitation of awareness. You can rise above those quite easily with these states. Interesting, less controlling. The coaches were less controlling of the coaching process, allowing the client to find their own answer. This is crucial. the client doesn't find their own answer, they're less likely to do what they need to do. They're less engaged, they're less committed, less ownership of the outcome. But if you can ask the questions that allow the client to find their own answer, you're more likely to get a good outcome. And it's very largely what the process is about that I refer to as effortless coaching. And listening in the moment, able to really hear. That's not the words. It's not even the meaning of the words. It's what is actually happening beneath the words. So getting behind the language that's expressing the thought that is arising from the consciousness. So these are fairly typical. They're also what Maslow talked about a lot, these things in his book. The thing is that when people experience these peak states, they describe them pretty much the same thing all around the world, whatever culture they're from. These are human experiences from that part of our humanness that is the same for everybody. It's a consciousness arising. It just manifests in different ways according to what you're doing. But the experience itself generally has similar characteristics, and that's because it arises from a similar point, which is a part of our own being.